Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business, and I've got another episode of Ships and Giggles for you as I am now currently flying away to Boston, and I will be back on the 5th. So this is the first of 3 videos that should be uploaded and ready for you guys when I'm away. And first things first, we've got this Hipper match that I had that started off, you know, in a rather mundane manner. The first clip there was really to just show you that, we had a few guys pushing over on the other side of the map, and we're obviously not meeting much in the way of resistance on this side. And now at this point, they've already punched through D and they're already at C, so I decided to turn around, see if I could slow the cap down and try to buy us some time while our guys moved into B. And I bit off a bit more than I could chew. So there's a few destroyers over here, namely my biggest concern is the Benson, and there's also a Buddione, there's a New Orleans, which I actually, at this point, totally forgot about, and there's also a Mitsuki in here as well, and New Mexico too, way in the back there. So the New Orleans pops up there right, yeah, now he's shooting at me. I have a problem with certain cruisers, regardless of what ship I'm in. New Orleans is one of those. I Citadel the Buddione through the front, so that was good. But as far as like some of those cruisers, the York, the Hipper, the New Orleans are a giant pain in my ass to try to hit. They're just frustrating to play against sometimes. So this, by the way, was about 6 weeks old, this clip. So I just wanted to throw that out there because the Hipper does sound different now with much better now. But as I start to try to kite away against this New Orleans, the destroyers start to move into A. And there's the Mitsuki, there's the Benson, and I'm prioritizing the Benson over the Mitsuki for a number of reasons. One, I know exactly what that thing is capable of, and there's actually a pretty solid potential that I could lose in a gun battle against him. So I'm going to try to do the damage that I can right now, because I don't know what... I just don't know the possibilities that lie ahead. So he's trying to move in here. There's a battleship and a destroyer there defending the cap, and I'm trying to catch up to our carrier here, and he's running away as fast as he can. And I kind of felt bad because the New Orleans started shooting at him a fair bit, and I had been dodging, or at least bouncing a lot of the New Orleans salvos so far. So I narrowly avoid beaching myself, which would have been, holy shit, that would have been terrible at this juncture. But they're clearly capping A, and so I definitely know that the Mitsuki and most likely the Benson are still on that cap as well. And I have AP loaded for the New Orleans here, and he starts to turn out, and I'm like, yeah, this should kill him. No, of course not. 7 hits for 4,200 damage, so of course I don't get a Citadel there. And the AP on the Hipper is actually, I mean, it's fantastic. Very, very solid ship. So now I take out the New Orleans here, and of course I could have had a double strike here if I pulled off to the left to get my rear turrets against this Mitsuki, but better judgment prevailed because the battleships that were over here, they would have just lit my ass up and finished me off. So I took out the Mitsuki, and now the New Mexico is engaging me. There's a Fuso behind him as well, and now it's pretty much do or die against this Benson. Now, of course, I say Benson, but really it's just me versus these 3 ships over here. And my only goal right now is to make sure the Benson dies. So we have a decent lead. It's a bit over 200 points, but of course it could still swing back pretty quickly because that's just what happens in this game sometimes. We do have the ship advantage though, so I'd just rather not take any risks here as far as letting this guy live. And that shot was just terrible. So oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to publish that shot. That was so bad. But I dodge both waves of the Benson torps, and he finally comes back around, and boom, there he goes. So apparently the Hipper is also a pain in the ass for a Fuso and New Mexico to hit as well, because somehow I've been able to bounce and just absorb a lot of those hits, and amazingly enough, I got my starboard torps off, and check that out. Holy shit. I should not have lived that long at all. So I know a lot of you guys like seeing the battleship play, and it's pretty much been the North Carolina show for the last few weeks. The Amagi has definitely been left on the back burners simply because of the fact that the North Carolina is fucking glorious now. But the Amagi still has a place in the game at tier 8. I just don't think it's as nearly as strong as the North Carolina is currently. But in this situation, I'm gonna be honest, I'm rather disappointed in my play here. I really should have sped up to try to help this guy out, this Yamato, who's being awesome and doing a brave charge, let's be honest. I have, let's see, I have Frere and his Chapiev backing me up, and there's also Banana X in his Benson as well. And I will say that I'm a bit timid here because I honestly didn't expect him to push forward like this, to commit to it, and because of that, I think I was expecting him to kind of let me get ahead of him and then I'd get wrecked, and I just didn't want that to happen. So, you know, I just really wasn't in a position to be able to help him out at all, though, and that was my fault, so unfortunately. Now, there is a bow forward Iowa that is engaging him right here, and he finally dies to fires and also flooding as well, since he got hit at some separate times there with torps. Waiting for that North Carolina to come around, so I've got to try to make this shot count. So I aim for the front turrets, and I knock out one of them. So that's a huge help here. Now I've got Banana pushing up a bit and trying to set this guy on fire, but now the North Carolina appears and makes my life a little bit more complicated. I was hoping he'd turn out so I'd be able to kind of rush in a little bit and try to get along the side of the Iowa here, but he just had to complicate things a bit. So I have a small window of opportunity here to swing my back around, get all of my turrets on the front turret here of the Iowa and try to knock it out, but unfortunately I aimed too low and all of those bounced. Now there's going to be a bit of a bigger issue here now that the gearing has appeared. So Frere's going to continue working on the Iowa, and I'm going to get a bit of help here against the gearing from Banana in his Benson. And he does launch torps here to try to get some sort of extra damage on the Iowa. What I was hoping for was that the Iowa would be in a position where we'd have to start going forward in order to avoid the torps. But I managed to bring my backside around again and get some shells on the gearing, who turned and allowed the shells to travel lengthwise through a ship. So those were AP penetrations, which is why it only took 2 shells to kill him with AP, which is great. But managed to dodge the torpedoes from the gearing, and unfortunately not much happens from the torps that that Banana launched. Now I'm thinking I've got the right angle here, but unfortunately I'm a bit too far away. It's not quite the angle that I was hoping for, or that I thought I had. So unfortunately it only ended up with 7,900 damage, and now I've got the North Carolina shooting at me, and unfortunately it takes out my number 5 turret. So now I'm down to 80% of my firepower. I'm trying to pull up alongside of the Iowa here, and I'm starting to get a bit of a flatter angle, and this is what I was really hoping for on that first salvo, and I finally managed to get the Citadel that I was looking for. So if you take a look at the team boards right now, it's just our division that remains, and we know this is a lost cause, so it's just time to see what damage we can do while we can. I see some issues here though, because while the North Carolina is advancing upon me, and he fired a bit too early and he used HE, oddly enough, I have a Des Moines off to my port side, and there's a stock Amagi further to the south. Now I actually lined up a salvo here and hit with all 8 of my shells there on the Des Moines, but most of them ended up being over pens, or just a couple penetrations as well. Now I lost my number 3 turret to the stock Amagi, which really sucks, and I'm just trying to make sure I survive long enough to inflict a little bit more damage here as the North Carolina runs by me and he's fighting his turret traverse. So I get my secondaries going on the Des Moines and fire my remaining shells and finally managed to take him out. Now Kaparovsk is joining in the fight, and yeah, one way or another I'm going to die here, but you know what? At least put up a fight, and it was a glorious defeat as I finally died. Yeah, that could have been better. So one Amagi match is enough. I'm going back to the Colorado. And sure enough, ding ding ding. Jesus Christ. When this dispersion is on, man, it is just incredible on this ship. And my next salvo, I'm lining up Congo, waiting for him to commit to a turn, but I see that his turning's slowing down, and the Indianapolis behind him, however, is committing to a turn. And just waiting for it, flatten out just a little bit more. There we go. Get the torpedo indicator, check that out. Remember, head on a swivel. And voila, no more Indianapolis. Now this match though, I was having some trouble with the Colorado. As you take a look at the top right, see my amount of hits. Top left, see I'm 7.5 minutes into the match and less than 20,000 damage. Finally, I think that was my 5th salvo against that Pensacola. I finally connect with it and managed to knock him out entirely. So New Mexico here, he's coming up, and I've got this Mitsuki helping me out, and amazingly enough, the New Mexico missed everything. Not even a bounce. Not one of those shells hit. So in return, God, I love this shit. All 8 shells hit for 25,000 damage, and just because this Mitsuki was helping me out, I gotta show the glory moment there that he got the kill, so nice job, man. And check out this glorious dispersion against an Iowa 18 kilometers away. Nice damage. And apparently, according to Wargaming's latest Armada video, the North Carolina is not good at range, which is interesting because they just buffed the shit out of the damn thing in terms of its dispersion, and it doesn't have the penetration at range or something. I mean, whatever, but say goodnight to the Otago there too. That was such a good looking salvo. Now let's drop down a couple tiers and watch New Mexico bully everything. So the first victim is a New York. 9 hits for 23,000 damage, ouch. And granted, that is repairable, it's non-citadel damage, but it's still satisfying as hell, and you don't need citadels to inflict a massive amount of damage. Granted, it would have been better if that were a one-shot, but I'll take the damage when I can get it, that's for damn sure. Now, this lovely little Wyoming, I don't know what this guy is thinking, but I guess I don't really care because he's got his broadside to me and he's looking, but it doesn't make much of a difference. And then just for good measure, I'm probably getting a little cocky at this point, showing my side to the New York, but another 7 hits, no citadels, and knock him out. Now check this one out though. Chipster in his Fuso, I'm in the New Mexico, and there's a guy in a Congo just to my right, and we all target this stock Congo, and nothing says go back to port quite like this. There's nothing left of this poor bastard. Oh my god. I mean, the opening salvos there, he's basically gone. That was just awesome. Now, I was worried about these shores. They were in a division along with somebody else too, and I was just trying to push them away. So that's why I split my turrets. I really wanted to keep them at arm's length just in case we had some issues, so managed to get a citadel on one of them. Now, we're kind of in a odd spot here, and by the way, they do have a Kawachi on their team. Yeah, no bullshit. That's some hardcore failed divisioning right there, but one of the shores is moving up, and see those shells coming in at him? That's from Chipster's Fuso, and I wait for him to flatten out a little bit, and I was also waiting to see what happened as far as Chipster's shells in case I needed to even fire in the first place, and I get a couple citadels there and knock him damn near out of the game. Now, Atlanta comes into the fray, and it's been a long time since I've had something like this happen. Holy shit. That does not happen enough against Atlantis. I just overpen like crazy against them. But between citadels and penetrations, it's good damage. I mean, you know, you take what you can get, and 18,600 against the Tirpitz at that range with the North Carolina, I'm happy with that. Even if that is a repairable type of damage, the fact that he has to use it in order to get it back is an advantage. That puts him down, it puts him on the cooldown, you know, he has to go away from the battle so he can maximize the heal, and it's not always about citadels. You just want to try to get the damage that you can, but killing an enemy ship is also really good too. So I had been nursing this rock here, and I'd been actually going in and out of detection here quite a bit. So I was able to nail the shit out of that North Carolina. They do have a number of destroyers that are close by that are really dangerous, and so I just didn't want to have anything to do with them, but had some good damage that game. Now, for the last two matches of today's episode, I gotta say I was really happy with the results. So I had missed the first salvo against the Shores here, which is why he's pretty much at full health, and the second salvo, though, not so much. So punched right through his citadel there and took him out of the match, and right now we're in a good position. They have lost 3 ships, we've lost just 1, and it's 2 caps versus 2 caps, and they are not in a position to get on either of ours. So this is a very good controlling situation right now, and it's a matter of just putting some damage on and start knocking these guys out to make that gap even larger and secure the win. So there's a Pensacola moving up on the 1 line here, and I think I've got it lined up here. It looks pretty damn good. Unfortunately, it falls just short, so that would have been glorious to have that shot connect, but lined up an enemy Nagato here, and I'm starting to push into A. I'm not entirely sure if I was thinking clearly, because it's probably not a good idea with the amount of ships that they have remaining, but the cruisers here on the 1 line are a bit distracted because of our ships that are harassing them also on the 1/2 line. Those guys do need to move up though, so they can, you know, help me out here on the cap, and my shells find the midsection there of the Pensacola and knock him out. And this guy here in the Cleveland, he has 23,003 health. Just remember that number, because he just had 22,942 health taken away. So he's got 61 health. And someone else secures the kill on him, so cool, I don't have to worry about him anymore. Now, I was initially going to take a look at that Amagi, but it looked like the Nagata was flattening out a little bit. And take a look at these shells, a little bit wider dispersion, but manage a sizable amount of damage without citadels. And again, that's where I think the Colorado has its main strength, is just being able to, it kind of just feels like it punches above its weight a bit, and you know, between the shell penetration and the accuracy, you can really do some solid damage against enemy ships. Now, I did anticipate that guy taking a little bit more of a break back to his right after he fired, and do about another 9,500 damage to him. But really, I was in the end disappointed with this match, because as you can see, there's only 30 tickets remaining for us to, you know, win out, but there's so much damage left on the table here. So this one's pretty much over, but not before that. So about 33,000 damage, and god, that was glorious. So funny enough, this is pretty much the same situation in a different ship in a different match. We are down about 120 points. There's going to be a fair bit of a swing here momentarily, and we're down 3 caps to 1. I'm in the North Carolina. I've got Dave and his Fubuki backing me up, along with Yorku Rocks and his Chapiev. We also lucked out having Donald J. Trump as our carrier in his Lexington, and that gives me a little bit more confidence being in a situation like this. Now, I don't know what type of confidence this guy in the stock Amagi was feeling, but it was certainly misguided, because he's wandering broadside in front of a very, very powerful ship, and you could tell right when those shells left the barrels that dispersion was awesome. So 39,300 damage later, and then he gets hit again, and his shot was pretty well off too, but wow, that guy went from full to almost nothing in the blink of an eye. Dave helps me out a huge amount here by smoking me up, and I'm expecting at any point the North Carolina to show up on the right, so I want to get rid of this Amagi as fast as I can, bring my turrets around to prepare for that guy. Now, I finish off the Amagi, but I'm wondering if the North Carolina is going to continue north or if he's going to turn around, but no, he decides to continue north. Now, remember, I only shot one turret, my rear turret, right? 3 shells? Yep. This shit, man, I'm telling you. So I'm feeling the pressure to begin to move because the smoke's clearing up, and I kind of unfortunately lose track of the turpits there and aim a little too far behind, but I still manage some hits. This is a very interesting maneuver, mainly because what I'm going to do is literally just shuffle over ahead and like one column to the east here. And I'm still going to present these guys with the same situation of having to deal with my bow armor and them having to do very little damage. So I'm trying to time this to where I can move over a fair bit, and I'm going to pull back to my right. And now that I see that the Lexington's over here, I'm going to start engaging him while still presenting to those 3 guys here my bow. So there's very little they can do other than either set me on fire or destroy some turrets, which, you know, at the very least, I'd still be taking the attention off of other teammates. So I nail the Lexington, and he sends all his planes over towards me to try to take me down, which thankfully the bombers, at least the first wave, don't do much damage. I'm hotly anticipating finally being able to get manual AA control for the captain skills, because that'll increase the effectiveness of the AA on this ship drastically. And I gotta say, I'm totally underwhelmed by the North Carolina's AA without it. I've tested it out before, and it's incredible just how many more planes you can actually shoot down. That manual AA fire control is just, it's batshit crazy how powerful it is. So again, doing some more damage there on the Lexington, and I decide that some of the other ships here are a bit more of a threat, and managed to squeak in a 17,000 damage salvo there against the Fuso, because his armor, even when it's angled, isn't going to be good enough to stop these shells. But that Pensacola, that goddamn Pensacola, I just can't kill this guy. I guess that's what I get for popping all the other ones, right? So, can't win them all. But yeah, so I gotta say that having a match like this where I'm doing 200,000 damage is really strange, because it's actually only the 5th time that's ever happened in 5,000 games. So consider that. I'm a player that really wants to bring consistency to the table, so my highest damages are actually much lower than a number of other people's, but my lows tend to be a bit higher. So, you know, I have a lot of frustration when I'm not able to bring anything to a match where I don't feel like I exerted any influence and I didn't do any damage. You know, I want to be part of it because it doesn't feel like a victory to me unless I'm doing something, you know, and whether or not that's providing utility, well, that's a bit different. It depends on what type of utility I'm providing, but with a ship like the North Carolina, that really pretty much goes out the window. I gotta say, tier for tier, if we're talking like relative performance, this is unquestionably the best tier 8 battleship in the game, and I would say no worse than top 5, possibly top 3 ship relative to tier. And that is a huge difference in tune compared to what I said earlier about the North Carolina. And that concludes our episode of Ships and Giggles today, but I'm away in Boston. I have videos uploaded and scheduled for release. One of them is the Fletcher review, as you see here, and that'll be on the 4th because that would be festive, and that's how I roll. The other one will be on the 5th, and that's also the day I get back, and that'll be the Tier 2, 3, 4 Japanese Destroyer overview, which these are some meaty videos, so trust me, you're going to want to watch those. But thank you again, guys, for watching. I appreciate the continued support, and I will see you back here as soon as I get back. So take care.